Well, welcome back to the podcast. Hey, we're in week 4 of I Don't Do Church, and today's title might be a little uncomfortable, right, for everybody.
Yeah.
And the title is I'm Too Busy for Church. Now, before everyone starts defending themselves, I'm busy. You're busy. Everyone's busy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, if someone asks you how you're doing today, almost everybody gives the same answer. Man, I'm busy. And it's almost become a badge of honor that we wear,
That is true. Yeah, nobody says I'm doing great. I had margin this week, right?
Yeah.
Instead of I've got 17 meetings, 3 ball games to go to, 2 birthday parties, a dentist appointment, and somehow I agreed to help somebody move on Saturday. How in the world did I get involved with that?
And somehow you're smiling while you're saying all of that. Go figure it out, right? That's cool, man.
Here's something that I've been wondering. Are we actually busier than previous generations, or do we just live differently?
Oh, wow. I think we're busy in different ways, maybe.
Yeah.
And technology was supposed to simplify life. Got our phones with us, got our iPads, got our computers. All those things are going to help us. And yet, instead, it eliminated boundaries in our life. Years ago, when someone left work, they actually left work. You don't do that much anymore. And now your office rides home in your pocket. Emails, text messages, notifications, ding, 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 all the time. Social media, breaking news. Everything is buzzing either in your pocket or in your pocketbook or whatever it is. And even while we're watching your kid's baseball game, your phone, it's remembering and reminding you of 10 other things that you've got scheduled. And our attention is constantly being fragmented because of all of these things pulling from so many different areas. PJ.
That is true. And that's interesting because we usually talk about time, right? But maybe attention is the bigger issue here.
Oh, I like that. Exactly. Yeah, that's spot on. So the greatest competition for your soul isn't always your calendar. I was talking about that Sunday, it's your attention, and that distraction piece. Throughout Scripture, worship begins with attention. Listen, O Israel. Listen to that proclamation. Listen. They get on me here, man. They even got me a T-shirt, man. But I caught one of the worship team yesterday that in one of the little segues between the chorus and the verse, they said, listen now. I texted them and I said, okay, you're the next one to get a T-shirt. I say that a lot in my sermons. Listen. You've even got on me about it. And but the reason is you're trying to get their attention. You're trying to get someone's attention. Be still and know, God says. And he who has an ear, let him hear. God repeatedly calls his people to pay attention, because whatever consistently captures our attention eventually shapes our affection.
Ooh. That's good. Have you ever noticed that we're addicted to checking our phones?
Sure.
I know I am. Sometimes I'll unlock my phone, forget why I picked it up, then check the weather, read sports, watch a reel, and suddenly I'm watching a guy restore a 1953 tractor. Like, what in the world?
Come on, man. And what we're doing is, man, we're just hoping he gets the carburetor fixed, right? Hell, I want to smell the fumes, and it's a video. Come on. Hey, a segue here. I served on a council national board one time, and our director made it real clear. He said, all right, guys, we're all pastors. We've got busy schedules. He said, how much time do you need on your phone right now? And all I was said, hey, 3 or 4 minutes and we'll be good. He said, okay, I'm going to give you 3 or 4 minutes, and then we're shutting them off. We're putting them aside, and for an hour and a half, we're going to grill through what we've got to go through on the agenda. Then we'll pick up our phones and we'll look at them. He said, but during that hour and a half, nobody touches it. Man, that was hard to get used to. Yeah. It was hard because it was like, I know there's something else going on. We can be so distracted by that, man. And somehow we need to have boundaries for that, margins, as I call it. Yeah,
that's true. One thing I've noticed reading the Gospels, Jesus was busy. He was really busy.
Yeah.
But he never seemed to be rushed.
33 years, 3 of which were in ministry, that he had to accomplish what the Father sent him to do. And yet he was busy, but he was never rushed. He was never inconvenienced by others. That's what happens when you get rushed. You start feeling inconvenienced. Jesus never felt inconvenienced. He always saw opportunity in the midst of it. Notice that, man. That's a good preaching point right there. And so the observation you make is spot on. Think about it. People constantly were were interrupting Jesus, blind men shouting, children climbing on him, crowds following after him, a woman touching the hem of the garment. All of these things, friends were asking for miracles, and yet Jesus was never frantic in the process. He walked, he listened, he noticed people in the process. Even on the way to heal Jairus' daughter, he stopped for the woman with the issue of blood. So most of us would have said, hey, Jesus, there's an emergency. Get to it. Let's go. Come on. But Jesus understood something, that love refused to be hurried. Can I say that one more time? Love refuses to be hurried through the process.
Pastor, that reminded me of something that God created the Sabbath before he gave Israel the law.
Exactly, and that's huge, and I'm not good with honoring that in my own life, meaning the rest part. But rest isn't merely a command, it's woven into creation itself. In the very beginning, there was rest on that seventh day. So it's been woven in, and the reason it was woven into creation is because God knew we needed it, and God didn't need rest. I mean, but he knew we did, but yet he rested as a model to us, not because he was tired, but because he was, watch this now, he was establishing rhythm for humanity. These are your 7 days a week. This is how you should operate. That's a rhythm you have to get into. So Sabbath reminds us of something that we desperately need to hear. The world keeps spinning when you stop. And so you're not holding everything together. God is. That's a gut shot, right?
That is.
Yeah, I'm not holding the church together. God is.
That's right.
That's a gut shot to me, because I feel responsible for everything. I carry the weight for everything. And sooner or later, sometime or another, you got to figure this thing out. Jesus said, I'll build my church and the gates of hell will not prevail. Not the pastor will build it. Not the people will build it. We operate inside of it. And therefore, we should find rest and comfort knowing that so it becomes a trust issue. We may talk about that more later.
I mean, that's good. That's real good. I mean, can I throw something out there?
I'm doing it. Go for it.
I wonder if some people stay busy because they're trying to prove their value.
Absolutely. I think that's incredibly insightful, and many of us confuse what we do with who we really are. Culture says produce more. God says you're my beloved. Notice that. Before Jesus performed a single stinking miracle, before he preached his first sermon, before he healed anybody, the Father declared, this is my beloved Son.
That's right.
Not because of what he did, but because of who he is. Identity. We're back at it, right?
That's right.
So it came from not activity, but identity. And that's the gospel summed up right there. You don't work to become loved. You work because you are loved.
Now, Pastor, here's a question skeptics sometimes ask. Why would God care if I missed church? Like, isn't that kind of insecure?
That's actually a great question too. Now, God doesn't command gathering because he's insecure. No, he commands it because he's wise. Notice the difference. He's wise. Think about that for a moment. And every loving parent, we see it from that perspective. Parents establish rhythms for their children. You go to bed at the right time, you get up at the right time. You get a child out of their rhythm, and it's hard to get them back in it. You keep them in the rhythm. That's why when they go to grandma and granddaddy's, they get all jacked up. Grandma and granddaddy don't keep the rhythm. And the kids the parents get jacked up with grandma and granddaddy. It's like they go back home, and it's like, well, he won't go to bed tonight. He's wired up and fired up, and he's still. What time did y'all put him to bed? Well, he wanted ice cream at 9 o'clock. Well, he was supposed to be in bed at 8:30. Well, it was 11. Rhythms. You get out of rhythm. Same thing with church. You get out of rhythms. You follow me? You get out of rest. You get out of rhythms. So we drift. We isolate. All of those things. We lose perspective. Gathering with believers recenters our heart. It recenters our heart, and it puts the focus back on God's grace, not his insecurity.
So, Pastor, basically, church isn't God's attendance sheet. It's his rescue plan for
Come
us.
on, preach. Preach. That's good. So God isn't in heaven saying, okay, Mark missed church Sunday. Guess I'll have to rewrite eternity, right? No. He's saying my son needs encouragement. My daughter needs truth.
That's good.
They need my people because, come on, say it with me, we're better together. God proves that over and over, right?
That's right. So here's something I don't think that we talk about enough here. Every Sunday is actually an act of resistance.
Explain that. That's intriguing. Go further.
It is. Well, our culture says consume, right? The gospel says worship. Culture says hustle. You got to get this done. The gospel says abide. Culture says, archive. The gospel says receive. When believers gather every week, we're declaring that God, not productivity, is our center of our lives, and that's countercultural.
Now see where you're going. I love that. So corporate worship is a weekly declaration that Caesar isn't king, the world isn't king, success isn't king, money isn't king. Jesus Christ is still king over our life.
That's right.
Wow, that's good.
Something else I've been thinking about. People don't usually lose faith all at once, right?
Bingo. I talked about it Sunday, drifting. I use that analogy of, the little inflatable raft thing, drifting. I saw it on Facebook. It usually happens inch by inch. Not miles. You'll notice that it happens inch by inch. One neglected prayer, one misgathering, one compromised conviction, one unaddressed distraction. We could keep going with this. Small habits shape eternal direction. And that's why Scripture emphasizes daily faithfulness over and over and over, because our lives are built one decision at a time.
That's right. Small decisions too.
Yeah, they are.
So maybe the real issue isn't, am I too busy for church? Maybe it's, what story is my schedule actually telling?
That's good. It's good. Every calendar preaches a sermon. Every pocketbook preaches a sermon. Every wallet preaches a sermon. I could go on and on and on with that. So every schedule reveals, a kingdom. The question isn't whether we're busy. The question is what's forming our soul, what's shaping us, because something always is. And if we're not intentional, culture will disciple us by default.
Ooh, I love that. That's good. Well, before we wrap up, Pastor, give us one sentence that our listeners right now can carry into this week. I know it's Tuesday, but they can carry into the rest of the week.
Let me pull from Sunday to help this. The greatest threat to your relationship with God isn't always rebellion. It may simply be a life so full that you no longer have room to notice Him.
Ooh.
If Satan can just get us distracted, if he can just get us busy, that was what I said Sunday. If he can just he doesn't need us to be evil. He doesn't need us to be bad. In fact, he can do better if we just slide out and people still think that we're connected with God, but we're not. That's a distraction, Yeah. And so, here's what I'd say. Let's draw it down. This week, don't just make time for God. Do a little bit more than that. Make space for it. Make space for it, not just time, because relationships don't thrive over leftovers. You with me?
Yeah.
They thrive on intentional presence.
That's good. That is good.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today. We'll see you next week as we wrap up the series with the one final conversation. I don't do church my way.
This is going to be a good one, right?
I know.
It's going to be a lot in there that we're going to have to talk about. And, PJ, one of the things before we go, one of the things I want to tell the folks, this has not been a series to try and, throw stones at anybody, to push them down. It's been one to lift us up, and it's really been doing that.
It has.
Because it's not come over. I never wanted it to come over that in a negative way. It's been one that lift up. But if you look, we've been volleying back and forth between Acts 2 and, Hebrews 10 along in there. And everything has been about persevering in your faith. So here's how I'd say it. Don't give up on God, no matter where you are and what's going on. Don't give up on God. Don't give up on the church. And don't give up on people. And can I go one more? Don't give up on yourself. This series has all been all about reformatting our minds, our lives, and everything, so where we just put Christ back on the throne of our hearts and our lives, because that's where real rest, peace, love, joy, all those things take place. Isn't that good?
That's good.
It's good. Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Pray you have a great Tuesday, rest of the day, and man, the rest of the week's coming. We've got no church. We won't have any church on Wednesday because we're honoring the July 4th week and trying to give everyone time to be with their families. A lot of people off this week, and then a big celebration. You know, we also on July 4th will be doing the dedication to the memorial, the military memorial, Veterans Memorial downtown. We'd encourage everyone to join us at 10 a.m. I get the privilege, man, I have the privilege of doing the opening prayer. I am so stinking humbled by that, but so jacked up about it too at the same time. So guys, we got a lot to going on this week. Join us Sunday, one service, 10 a.m. because of the holiday. We're packing it all in so that you can get to your families. We honor family, love family, and want you to spend time with family. I'm going to do some. I'm gonna get away with family a little bit just over the next few days. But we appreciate you joining us today. God bless you. Hey man, go out and make it a great day and
make Jesus famous.
God bless you guys. Love you each and every one.